quintessential teenage view of the world by immaturity. They're not sophisticated, their worldview is narrow, they're self-absorbed. 14-year-old Stephanie Rengel is indeed dead, stabbed to death, and left to bleed out in the snowbank outside her home on New Year's Day 2008. David Bagshaw wielded the knife, and Melissa Todorovic cracked the whip with relentless demands that her boyfriend murder the perceived rival if he ever expected to have sex again. On their own, these communications would likely have been enough for a murder conviction. However, were the convictions appropriate? First-degree murder for Bagshaw, who was 17 when he committed homicide, and first-degree for Todorovic, who was only 15. I am joined today with Professor of Criminology at University of Toronto, Omar Quiros.
Thanks for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
So, what exactly is the issue on hand here, Omar?
Well, whenever you see a crime like this has been committed by a minor, there is controversy about whether or not they should be tried as a young offender or sentenced as an adult.
Even though they're under 18?
Well, that's what's ironic. It's strictly written in the laws. It's as if their concrete rules aren't clear enough.
Yes, very strange. So, would you care to debrief us on the laws?
Oh yes, of course. So we have the Juvenile Delinquent Act, the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and the Youth Offenders Act.
Interesting. So, where does this stand now?
The right to an appeal on one murder conviction is automatic. Bagshaw, after pleading guilty, was sentenced to life in prison with no parole eligibility for 10 years, the maximum for an offender who is under the age of 17. However, she is only 15. Now is Todorovic's shot at having her conviction overturned, seeking either a new trial or a youth sentence, which would see her serve a total of 10 years, 6 behind bars and 4 community supervision.
It says here that Todorovic has already been rebuffed by Justice Ian Nordheimer, the same judge who convicted her in her attempt to avoid transfer from the Roy McMurdy Youth Center to an adult penitentiary after she turned 20. What are her chances?
Well, Melissa has proven to have a exemplary inmate behavior, which shows that she's been reformed. Also, at her sentencing, Todorovic gave a letter to Stephanie's family stating that she takes full responsibility for her part in the murder. I mean, it seems to me that her level of maturity has risen, which is great, and as things stand now, Todorovic is eligible for parole in a mere 13 months.
And rightfully so. From what I know, that was the only time she spoke at her trial. Now, Omar, can you speak about the 2 videotaped statements Todorovic gave to investigation in which she admitted a partial role in the murder?
Those should never have been allowed as evidence by the trial judge. To me, it's clear that failing to abide by that, Nordheimer erred in granting the Crown's application for Todorovic to be sentenced as an adult.
And without that video, they have no way of proving that the text messages were true. Who's to say her boyfriend didn't misinterpret them?
Exactly. And in the factum, it was all just a joke for Todorovic, that the teasing and the banter and the button pushing would not have led to murder. The murder then lies in Bagshaw's inability to correctly interpret messages and essentially to control the actions.
So what you're saying is that these 2 police statements were improperly obtained and therefore shouldn't be admissible in court because of the higher standard of cautions required when interviewing youths?
Yes. It violated Todorovic's rights under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. Additionally, it could be argued that they didn't assume her to be innocent until proven guilty, which is essentially in any court of law. I mean, although she didn't claim that she was joking, she didn't exactly claim that she wasn't either.
So she's innocent because she's only guilty if she intended Bagshaw to carry out this terrible crime, and they have no proof that this was in fact the case.
You got it.
Well, thank you for joining us today, Omar. It's been a real pleasure.
Likewise.
A 17-year-old girl was sentenced as an adult Tuesday in Toronto to life in prison for her part in the murder of Stephanie Rengel. Melissa Todorovic was originally convicted of first-degree murder in the slaying of the 14-year-old on New Year's Day 2008 outside her East York home. Throughout her trial, Todorovic could only be referred to by her initials because her identity was protected under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. So why then is she being tried as an adult? This decision to sentence her as an adult means the teen's name can now be made public. Bagshaw pleaded guilty to first-degree murder charges earlier this year and is awaiting sentencing. The Crown is also seeking an adult sentence in this case, however he committed the crime. Melissa, on the other hand, only loosely stated that she wanted her dead. A youth sentence would be a sufficient length to hold Todorovic accountable for merely pressuring her boyfriend in this crime. Clearly, her fright and tears at trial prove that she is no longer a threat to the community. Psychologists note that up until the age of 18, people struggle with identity and role confusion. Teens need to develop a sense of self and personal identity. How can this young girl be culpable for a crime that she committed at age 15? Countless cases in the past have set a precedent for the one at hand, each where the youth reclaims their rightful sentence. Stay tuned for updates in the Melissa Todorovic case and her fight for youth justice.